Greetings, respected Bante. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Awakening Friends Gathering. Before we start, I would like to invite you all to arrive fully to this moment and set your wholesome intentions for the upcoming session. To help us with that, let us respectfully invite our Bante to guide us in a 10-minute sitting session.
Hello everyone. We'll start with a sitting session then. You can turn on video and join more actively if you wish. And we are gonna sit in a comfortable manner. Make sure that your body is balanced and comfortable. Then you can gently close your eyes. You are seated and you have your eyes closed. Simply be present in the moment. Notice what you feel there. You might hear surrounding sounds. Naturally, you start to feel the breathing as well. Notice how the breath goes in. Notice how it comes out. Time to time, various thoughts, memories might appear, and sometimes drowsiness or certain irritations in your body. But among these things, you feel the breathing. Notice how the breath goes in. Notice how it comes out.
Thank you and welcome back. Let us move to our discourse discussion part. For that, once again, I would like to respectfully invite our Bhante to guide us in this teaching, and then I would like to invite Praveen in this week too to be our reader. Today we are reading from the Numerical Discourses of the Buddha, translated by Bhikkhu Bodhi. We are referring to the fifth title under Book 1. The title is called A Spike, and we will be reading from the paragraph 47 on the page 97. Praveen, I'm going to invite you to start reading once I shared my screen, please.
Homage to the Blessed One, the Arahat, the perfectly...
Sorry, Praveen. So I'm going to share the screen so you can start reading once I share the screen, please.
Homage to the Blessed One, the Arahat, the perfectly enlightened one. Verse 47, Bhikkhus, just as sandalwood is declared to be the best of trees with respect to malleability and wieldiness, so too I do not see even one other thing that when developed and cultivated is so malleable and wieldy as the mind. A developed and cultivated mind is malleable and wieldy.
Yes, so that's the discourse for today. Buddha is giving a simile regarding sandalwood and mentioning about certain couple of qualities, malleability and wieldiness. So these qualities, when you think about sandalwood, that type of wood said to be the best wood that have these qualities. So that's the simile that's taken. Sandalwood is the best of trees for the malleability and wieldiness. And then goes to the mind. When a mind is developed and cultivated, there's no other thing as malleable or wieldy as the mind. So that's the idea given based on a sandalwood simile. And when you think about our usual behaviors, our minds, we resist change. There's a resistance for the change. Capacity to adopt is low in our minds. The exact reason is that the minds are not trained properly. When you train the mind, then it becomes malleable and it can, accept the changes regarding the worldly matters. Now, let's say we are in a fast-moving world. So it demands us to change and adapt to situations that is required. But most of the time, in our minds, we keep resisting the change. We prefer our own old ways. We prefer sticking to them. We are not open to change our ideas, opinions. We are somewhat stubborn. So these qualities are there in the minds. We are even not ready to accept a fault. We are not ready to ask for forgiveness. The reason being is simply we resist the change. We don't want to change our opinions, thoughts. We don't want to change our behaviors. We don't want to change the ways we speak. And we don't want to change our environments or the people that surrounds us. Right? So that type of a quality is there, rigid nature is there. But if you want to develop the opposite quality, simply you have to train your mind, make sure that it is cultivated, developed, and as a result, it can develop these type of qualities. Then again, when it comes to wieldiness, can we put our mind into a certain task and simply focus and work on it? Sometimes, of course, we can do that, but sometimes this mind is creating a lot of chaos. It is not focused. It doesn't want to, do the task. Instead, it gets distracted, creating a lot of chaos. So your energy towards that task, your efficiency towards that task reduces. Right? So that too happens to us. When we want to get something done, sometimes you can't focus. You try and try, but it doesn't work. Sometimes when you want to give attention to a certain project, one of the family matters comes and bothers you. You try to focus on a project, but you can't do that due to some other family matter. Sometimes you want to sleep so badly, but your mind is not ready to sleep. Right? So those things we experience time to time, and we can see our minds are sometimes difficult to put into work. Right? So the quality of wieldability is simply this mind is, can be put to work, easy to operate, that type of idea, right? So these qualities are really valuable for your daily encounters, especially in a fast-moving world. You have to adapt to situations, you have to change according to the situations, and you have to put this mind to work, operate it easily, right? So these qualities are important if you wanna thrive in your daily matters, in your goals and aspirations. But even considering about inner peace, if you want to achieve inner peace, then these qualities are also important. That's the ultimate goal, but initially it might even help you with your work, education, and things like that. But these qualities are very important for you to develop a peace of mind. Usually what happens is that our minds, we are distracted, we resist certain situations, and that becomes the main source of our suffering. Let's say a friend is changing. You used to like this friend very much, but that person now has changed. So are you ready to accept that change in them? Usually what happens is that you keep resisting that. You keep wishing that this is the same old friend that I had. Right? Such situations come in our lives. Maybe a change due to certain other matter, maybe a workplace or some other change is there. We keep resisting that change. Right? In our mind, every time we go to that place, we feel anxious, we feel stressful because we are resisting that time after time. We are probably resisting a person who we meet daily, and that very person creates a lot of chaos in our mind, right? So this way, these qualities are important for you to create peace of mind. Otherwise, if you don't have these qualities, then naturally it becomes a source of stress. Once again, the other quality, the wieldiness, you have to have the efficiency of the mind. You can easily put this mind to work. It is easy to operate. When a task is given, you can focus on that. You can do it. Right? If that quality is also not there, then that becomes a source of stress. For example, a couple of months back, there was this teenager who was facing exams, I think A-level exams, in couple of months, and he was complaining, I want to do good. I want to study and, face the exam well. But my mind is not ready. I don't feel like studying. Even when I sit down to study, my mind is utterly distracted. So in his mind, he wants to do well in the exams, but he can't do the proper preparation work due to that unwieldy mind. So he's asking for some help. He's asking how to change it. He's asking what can he do, right? But changing a mind, it takes time and effort. It's not like you can change it quickly targeting an exam. That's not how it works, right? So these type of situations come. You want to focus, you want to do good, but your mind doesn't allow. You want to study, but it feels like doing something else. Maybe browsing internet or, doing some other task, right? So this way, we can really feel these qualities. If you don't have them, then naturally they become the source of your stress. So in the meditation practice, in the mindfulness practice, in a way, when we do it, we are developing these type of qualities. For example, if you take malleability, you adopt to certain other things, and you try to return to the selected object that we have. For example, let's say last couple of weeks ago, I went for a day retreat, and there were maybe 80 people gathered there. And during the whole day, there was some construction work going around in the facility. Right? So you can hear the grinders, we can hear the hammering, we can hear the other machinery at work. So it was very noisy, and most people would complain, saying that this is no environment for a retreat because of that construction crew and they are noises, they work, right? So that's how most of the reflection reports were there, saying that this is a disturbance. I can't focus, I can't uh, pay attention to the breath. That way they complain. But if you really know mindfulness, when you repetitively train it, among all the difficulties, among all the disturbances, you develop your ability to return to the breathing. Sometimes the object of mindfulness change, but the mindfulness is intact. The object change, but the mindfulness is intact. You are with the breath initially, you go to some grinding sound, then again you go to a thought, and again you come to the breathing, right? So that way it goes through this whole cycle. It is changing objects, but you can still maintain your mindfulness, right? That ability comes. So you can see, instead of resisting this environment, in a way, the mind is adopting to that environment, right? Simply being aware that this is happening. You can't really force these sounds out of your mind. That's not possible, right? So you have to develop the ability to be mindful among all the chaos. Of course, we start with the breath. We start in a peaceful environment. That's how we start. But gradually, when you develop your practice, these type of situations come. Sometimes a family member is making noise at home. So what can you do? Many people, they get angry and they say, this is my meditation time. You can't do this, right? But that's not the best solution, because you are trying to change someone else's behavior, right? Probably if your meditation is correct, if you know real meditation, you should be able to accept these situations instead of resisting them, right? So that type of a change will appear with repetitive practice. Instead of resisting situations, people, instead of resisting the change, simply you accept mindfully, and that becomes a big part of your practice, right? So that's one important way the practice will develop this quality, malleability. Then the other thing, the wieldiness. Let's say when we meet a newcomer, they usually, their minds, they can't put it to work. Even I met someone, a newcomer yesterday. He did meditate for like 1 day, and in his experience sharing, he was talking about some other things, telling that my mind is utterly distracted. I can't bring my attention to the selected object. He's saying object, but he's not mentioning what's the object is. So I asked him, what's the object? Then he somehow came to the breath and said that the breath was my object, right? So the mind is distracted. You can't really put the mind to work. So his focus is somewhere else. He's complaining about some other matters, saying that due to that he can't practice meditate. But you have to understand, you have to know the priority. What is my priority? Bringing my attention to the breath or noticing the breath, that becomes the priority, right? So that object is the primary object. We call it primary object. Everything else becomes secondary. and you have to treat them accordingly. If this object is the primary object, that's where your priority is. You don't start talking about other objects which are secondary, right? So that way, you have to train them, tell them that this is your focus, don't talk about other things, it's not that important at the moment. This is your primary, you talk about that, you experience that object. Time to time, you go to other things, but that's okay, you can come back and put your mind to this work, which is simply observing this given object, right? So you can see, even in our worldly matters, we have many distractions. If you are in a classroom, probably there are a couple of kids who might, distract the whole classroom. If you go to workplace, there are some other distractions. So among them, you have to put the mind to work. If you keep resisting those things, then you are not doing your work. Instead, you are fighting some other thing in your mind, right? So the wieldiness is important, easy to operate. You know your priority, you can work on that. Distractions are there, but that doesn't bother you that much, right? So those qualities we can even see in our meditation practice. We are developing in a way. These qualities are developed, right? So that's the whole idea of this teaching today, which says a developed and cultivated mind is so malleable and wieldy. So that's how you can acquire those qualities, and it will definitely help with your worldly matters, your education, work, things like that, family matters. It will definitely help. In addition, if you have these qualities, then that becomes the source of your peace. These opposite qualities create a lot of chaos in the mind. These opposite qualities are the source of your stress. When you think about stress, you are resisting something. That's the main idea. That's why you get stress. Either in your surroundings, you are resisting something. Either in your mind, you are resisting something, right? Maybe you are resisting an incident that happened. Maybe you are resisting someone's behavior, right? So that way, you can really see that's how the stress is generated. You have some kind of a resistance. You are not ready to adapt to that situation. You are not. It's not easy for you to work or operate in that situation, right? So these things are the source of the stress that you are feeling. We came across this interesting idea a few days ago, which is basically minding your own business. And when you think about mindfulness, we say mind your own business, be mindful. That becomes a motto for mindfulness, right? Minding your own business. Usually our mind is in someone else's business, and that creates a lot of chaos, that creates a lot of friction. Even in ancient teachings, not only Buddhism, some other things like, Tao, Lao Tzu. Even in his teaching, the idea of Wu Wei is simply non-interference. You try not to interfere. right? You mind your own business. And even in United States, the first coin that they created in 1700s, right? The very first coin, the motto that was on that coin was mind your own business, right? So the founding fathers of America, they knew that this is important, right? Even in ancient teachings like Tao or Lao Tzu, this idea is given. Even in Buddhist practices, we say mind your own business and be mindful. That's the idea, right? So if you can do that, then your mind becomes peaceful. Most of our time is given, most of our energy is given to some other unimportant things, to some things that you don't even have any control, right? We judge a lot. We keep judging other people's behaviors. We keep finding faults, right? That way we deal with our daily matters. And you are spending so much energy towards those things without you even knowing you are spending. They say that if you have, let's say in a day, if you have opinions on 20 people, that very energy, mental energy, and that very glucose that you spend in your brain is equal to solving a complicated math problem, right? So you are wasting your energy with this garbage, with other people's, behaviors, opinions, right? Things like that. So there's a lot of energy waste in our mind because we are not focusing on our business. We try to interfere with other people's business. And they have this very nice explanation. What is your business? Your business, simply your thoughts, your choices, your actions, things like that, right? Then what's someone else's business? Probably, their choices, their mistakes, the way they behave, their actions, words, that's someone else's behavior, right? So can we simply mind our own business? Our minds are not ready. Time after time, we go and worry about other people's mistakes. That's what the parents do, right? They always worry about their children's behaviors. They want to correct them. The little ones, of course, they listen to the parents, but when they get into the teenage years, they simply start resisting that. They simply start fighting that, right? So we worry, we spend a lot of energy thinking about other people's behaviors, trying to change them. But if you are experienced in life, you know that most of the people, their minds are already made up, right? So you might have many such experiences where you try to do good for someone according to your understanding, but they anyway went according to their old ways, right? So the minds of other people, they are usually made up. No matter how much you try, you can't change them. Sometimes it feels like they have accepted, it feels like they have changed, but later, after a couple of weeks, you realize they are in their same old ways. right? So this way, if we keep poking our noses in someone else's business, then that becomes a source of stress, right? So it says, mind your own business. It's not easy because our attention usually flows outwards, right? Mindfulness will let you simply turn the attention inwards. Try to focus on your matters. Mind your own business. And even more interesting, sometimes there is God's business, right? Maybe like the weather. No matter how much you try, you can't fight the weather. Whether it's peak winter, you can't fight it. You complain about the weather. That's a popular topic. Always talk about weather, right? And that's a good way to start a conversation as well, because everyone is talking about weather, right? But can you actually change it? You can't. So it says that's God's business, the weather. And maybe natural disasters, things like that. You can't really do anything about it, you know. In Sri Lanka a few weeks ago, there was this hurricane and it did a lot of damage. And a couple of days ago, somebody has gone to Supreme Court saying that this hurricane, the government didn't prevent it. The government didn't do the necessary part in order to prevent that hurricane, something like that. But what can you do when it comes to such situations? You can't even move out of your house, extreme weather. So you simply stay indoors and let the weather pass. That's all you can do, right? So that way the God's business even more dangerous. If you try to control, if you try to, change God's business, then it's not gonna help you. Even the passage of time, you can't stop it, right? The unstoppable movement of past, future, present, this movement that happens. We lose past memories, we create new memories. That process continues. Some people that were in our lives, they are already gone. And maybe some new people, they have come to our lives, right? So this movement, you can't change it. This is the impermanence, the nature of this world. So if you start fighting that, then it's not going to help you, right? So these things we keep fighting. Think of be mindful and see how many times in a day you are fighting someone else's business. How many times in a day you are fighting God's business, right? So that way we keep spending or wasting our energy and time towards these things. But the mindfulness simply tells you, be mindful, mind your own business, right? You can practice and see. You can try and see. That way you have to develop the ability to focus on the matters that you can control, not the matters that are out of your control. That's the very idea of this minding your own business. And gradually, when you develop that quality, you become increasingly peaceful. Because whenever you are fighting someone else's business, it creates stress. It creates anxiety. When you are fighting God's business, you feel fearful. Source of fear, that is, right? So if you can be mindful, mind your own business, then that becomes a real source of peace in your life, right? That ability we have, but you have to gradually develop it. And in order for you to develop that ability, the qualities that we have discussed, malleability and wieldiness, those things are important, right? So with repetitive practice, you can develop these qualities, and a developed mind is the best source of malleability and wieldiness. That's what Buddha is giving us here. So that's it for today. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you very much, Bhante, for your valuable teachings. As always, very much merits for your teachings. Now that we have come to the end of our discourse discussion part, I would like to open this space for any closing thoughts, reflections, or questions you may have. You can raise your Zoom hand, and I can give you the opportunity to unmute the mic. Yes, Amanti, go ahead.
Good morning, Avasara Bhante. Yes, I remember the meme we discussed with the kids, Hansa. The math isn't mathing. When we keep our assumptions lightly, when the math isn't mathing, we can either accept it or we can say none of my business. So then the way we accept it will change according to the way we keep the assumptions about the world, other people, and the things happening. That's what my reflection I needed to share. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for adding that. Those reflections can help. But although, let's say, as an idea, we know that this is what we should do, but time after time, the mind works in the opposite manner. Time after time, it is worrying about someone else's business. Time after time, it worries about weather or things that are out of your control, right? So that way, although we know that this is how we should behave, the mind works in the opposite direction, right? So that's why the cultivated, developed mind is important. If you want to change that behavior, you have to cultivate the mind. You have to develop the mind. Cultivating, developing is simply this process that we go through. We do our daily walking, sitting. We try to be mindful in our daily life, and we come and discuss our mindful experience. That way you have to continue for some time. And naturally, when the mind is developed, cultivated, you can feel that you are more focused on your business than other people's business, right? So that's a process. I'm sure you have experienced how the mind has changed due to this.
Thank you, Samanthi, for that addition. Yes, Imarka.
Thank you.
Yours.
Thank you. So, Nasa, I just wanted to ask, the mind tends to also come back to the same sort of thought process. So it's a cycle. It ruminates. Let it be an experience that is pleasurable or non-pleasurable. There is a tendency to repeat. In that case, how does one enable focus again? Because the energy is powerful.
Yes, that's a good question. We feel this time after time. We are stuck in the same thought processes. Time after time, no matter how much we try, it happens, right? Some memories, we are stuck in those memories. We are stuck in those thought processes, right? that happens. But simply, if you think about those thought processes, if you are unmindful, if it happens under the darkness of ignorance, without us even knowing, we are energizing these thought processes time after time. That happens, when you are not mindful. In a way, you are supporting these thought processes. And maybe you even keep thinking about these things. Maybe you even do things, talk according to these thought processes. So whenever we are not mindful, we are supporting these thought processes. That's how they have gotten so strong, right? But when we become mindful, when you start to practice mindfulness, when you start to bring your attention to the breath or the steps, you feel that you are repetitively driven towards these thoughts, memories. You are stuck in that, right? But simply being mindful would be your solution. You allow those thought processes to happen in the background. You know that they are happening, but among that, you try to every now and then simply notice the breathing. And some people, they say, I know that my breath is there, but I feel that these thought processes are happening in the background, right? So that way you have to allow those thought processes to come while being mindful about it. That's how you can really break these strong patterns. Otherwise, if we try to fight it, in a way, when we are fighting those thought processes, we are feeding them indirectly. There's two ways to feed a thought process. The first one is, simply encouraging that thought process. Then the second one is simply resisting, suppressing that thought process. Both ways we are giving more energy towards it. Imagine the suppressed thoughts, memories that you have. They are very strong. Whenever you lose the control of your mind, you can see they are immersing. They come to the surface. Whenever you feel feverish, your dark memories will come to the surface. Whenever you are in sleep, your fears will come to the surface. We are suppressing. By that very effort, you are giving more and more energy towards them, right? So don't encourage thought processes. How not to encourage? Simply be mindful. Don't suppress. Suppressing another way of encouraging. Simply be mindful. Allow these thought processes to come and go while you simply being mindful. Simply every now and then simply noticing, at least knowing that these thought processes are there in the background, right? That way you have to continue your practice, and it won't change within a day, I guarantee you, right? It will continue for a few weeks, but later you will realize now the strength of these thought processes, they have reduced. In a way, your mind will experience a new normal. New normal, that's the word. Your current status, probably these thought processes, they have so much power. But when you continue your practice for few weeks, few months, then one day suddenly it hits you and realize those thought processes are no longer so dominant in my mind. So you are experiencing a new normal, right? That change will happen gradually, but it's worth it. That's why even we meet weekly, we keep practicing, we come and share experiences, discuss Dhamma, then again you go and practice. That's a process that will take some time, but you can see real results.
Thank you, Bhante. I hope you wouldn't mind if I add something that I used to get a long time ago as an advice. I think you have not only to me, but also for many practitioners, you advise to journal, not only practice, but journal your experiences and your practice. So I think I would like to take this opportunity to everyone to encourage journaling your practice, your reflections, and your experiences, and maybe share them with us. You don't have to I'm not going to be sharing your experiences and name it. You can share it anonymously, and then maybe Bhante can advise you on that to improve your practice, or to maybe to find a relief for your mental turmoils and pressure. So I'm not sure. I don't know if Bhante has anything to add to it, or
No, most people they have a problem with revealing. They have many burdens in their minds, but they don't have a place or an audience to reveal that, right? And keep thinking about the same things, stuck in same things, right? So journaling can help, and we say writing a reflection report. Every couple of days you write a reflection report, and you maintain a certain journal with it. And when you do it for few months, few weeks, you can really see how you started and what is the status now, right? And this is an audience that we can share our burdens and let go of them. I remember one time, a few months ago, maybe a few years ago, a gathering. They came, I think, directors from Sri Lankan education department, and probably like 20-30 people were there, and we were conducting a mindful camp for them for 3 days. And as one of the activities, I gave them a blank piece of paper and I told them to write a confession anonymously. And initially they were a bit reluctant, people who are holding big positions in the government and the education system, so they don't want to appear weak. But anyway, later they get into the rhythm and they start writing. And you don't believe, out of those reports, many people, they were having so many burdens in their minds, and they were ready to share it. Revealing, confession. You confess, you reveal, and that helps. It's like, you go to a church, and Christians, Catholics, they do it, I think. They say, "Bless me, Father, I have sinned." You do the confession, you get your advice or punishment or whatever, and you come out relieved of that burden, right? Most of us, we have the problem of thinking about our past burdens and not letting go. We make mistakes, don't get it wrong. The mistakes are natural because we are human, but there's a way to let go of that burden. There's a way to correct it. Even Buddhists, they think a lot about karma. But karma shouldn't be a burden. You keep thinking about certain incident and they think that you have gathered bad karma due to that incident. Definitely you'll be in hell. I think we passed one of such teachings in this session. Buddha says, if this person dies, he'll be in hell, because the mind is focused on that wrongdoing only, right? You make mistakes, you can do a confession or something like that. You don't have to do it in person. Even you can go to a Buddha statue and do it and simply let go of that burden. You don't believe in one of those reports, a person was writing about an incident that was 15 years old. He got angry, hit his family cat with something, and it died. Terrible incident. He was saying, I don't know, he or she was saying that this pet was like a child to us back then, but it died. I killed it. Right? So this burden, 15 years. Keep thinking about it. So will you go to heaven after that? No, definitely hell. Right? Because you are stuck in that memory, you are stuck in that thought process. It's not a wholesome one. Right? Definitely you go to hell. So there is a way to correct this. You make a mistake. You know that it's a mistake, knowing the mistake as a mistake, and simply correct yourself, making a confession and moving on. That's the way of the practice. That's why the precepts are given. The precepts are not chains to ball and chain to bind you. No, that's not the case. Instead, you take the precepts where you make a mistake, you renew your precepts and you go, you move on. You forget the incident. Right? That's how it is. Even bhikkhus, they do a confession. You make a mistake, you go to another monk and you tell him that I have made a mistake, Bhante. Then with that confession, you are free. You are relieved. Right? That way we have to find a way to release these memories, incidents, burdens, and simply let go of them. So it's important to journal, it's important to reveal, and that way we can, I'm sure, become lighter in our minds.
Thank you so much, Bhante, for that further explanation. Now that we have come to the end of our session, I would like to take this opportunity to extend our gratitude to our teacher for his presence and for his sharing, for his wisdom. Thank you so much, Bhante. And thank you very much for you all, for your presence, for your practice and your kind participation. We will meet again next week too, the same time. Until then, take care.